Welcome back, it's Kyle from All In Survival, and today we're going to be talking about bug out trailers. I've set up a couple of different scenarios and a couple of different trailers. We're going to talk about those and some of the ideas that you need to be thinking about if you're potentially going to be bugging out. How far are you going to be going? How much food and water do you need to be bringing along the way? We'll talk about more. First thing we're going to talk about is why you might want to bug out. So bugging out is a very dangerous proposition, and you have to do a risk assessment and decide that where you're at currently is more of a risk than leaving. So this can be very complicated, but that's something you'll have to do for yourself. Not everyone is capable of making a long journey, and I completely understand that. You need to understand what risks you're taking by staying or going. Next, bugging out on bicycles would not be my first option. My truck, my vehicle, is always option number one. However, there are a few small scenarios where that truck might not be an option, right? So if there was an EMP or a large CME and the protections that I've paid for and put onto that truck fail, and that truck no longer is capable of being my bug out vehicle, you need an option two. This is what I'm presenting to you today. I've set up two different trailers and we'll go into each of those. All right, so the distance that you're going to get to, this X on the map, this spot that you might feel safer, needs to be prearranged. You can't last second go, I think I'm going to blah, blah, blah. You need to have an idea spot, and if you can prep ahead of time to put your supplies there, better, even better. So when bugging out, you need to know how long will it take on foot or on a bicycle or in your vehicle. This is very important because if it's more than a day, 2 days, a week, you're going to need to think about a lot more than just grabbing your stuff and going. So if you're within 2 days of your location on a bicycle or on foot, you can pretty much grab a little food and water, your firearm, and go. If you're going to be more than 3 or 4 days, now you need to start thinking about accommodations. Sleeping, rest, extra food, extra water, the what ifs. Now, if you're going to be enduring a very long ride, a lot of things come into play. For myself, this is option two, and we're talking about around 50 miles per day for more than 2 weeks solid. Now, is it possible? Absolutely. Are there many considerations to be thinking about? Absolutely. So, both of the trailers that I'm setting up, basically I have 2 of each of these. You start with a good quality trailer. I prefer these Burleys. I buy them used all the time and I fix them up. They're ready to go. I like 2 of this style and I like 2 of the flatbed styles. I have those. I can mix and match. I've set up one in each style to give you an idea of what it's capable of. This style that hooks directly to your seat post is excellent. It took my large go bag and underneath it sits a 5-gallon Marine Corps bladder. What's great about the 5-gallon bladder is that it's compact, it's soft-sided, it's thick, and it can keep your water safe. It spreads out the weight of the water. Now this will not be light. This is almost 50 pounds worth of water. But the number one consideration when crossing the desert is water. So you want to have the ability to go far distances between filling up water and using a large life straw type where you scoop up dirty water and everything is inside the pack, but it'll go and you can fill these up. If you happen to get to a place where you can connect directly to a hose and people have pumps that work, excellent. Easy peasy. The next is you would take this and put it directly on top. Lastly, having a long gun that's on top of your gear or easily accessible next to your kit is very important. All right, the second cart is going to be set up similar, that this will also carry 5 gallons worth of water, have a rifle available to it. It's got a small go bag, this is the wife's go bag, And it's also got one extra wheel and tire for each of the different vehicles. It also has the repair kit for the main bicycle and the different tires here. I'll talk a little bit about how much food, right? So if by chance you're setting up a plan and it looks like you're gonna be spending 3 weeks on the road, then I would have the ability to have no less than 6 weeks worth of food. But if that is too much to carry, then at least have 25% more than what you're required, because you have no idea what kind of side streets you might have to take or side routes, difficulties. Make sure that you have a significant amount of food inside each of the go bags and also onto the trailers. If you have to ditch and grab just the go bag and your weapons and ditch, you still have food, right? You're gonna eat that food last. Next, I wanna talk about how we've got this set up a little bit. All right, when it comes to camping, remember, you don't need a lot. You're gonna have to pull security. In general, if it's myself, my wife, and my child, then I would let them sleep and I will pull security. And then my wife might get up and pull some security. So we don't need a lot. We don't need a huge tent. We don't need a bunch of sleeping bags. We got one light fighter, one-man tent. We have one tarp. This is a bug netting that if you don't need to be in a tent, you can cover yourself up with a net. And then one large sleeping bag. Lastly, I'll talk a little bit about food. This right here is the supplemental food. This has got 50 Mountain House meals. Basically, when you talk about your emergency kits, I've done a video of having emergency kits, and what you would do is grab one of the emergency kits and fill a bag as full as you can and have that on top. This would be your eat first bag. If you've got 50 of these, then you've got nearly 50 days worth of food. Now, each of the go bags have at least about a week's worth of food as well. And in the back of my rack on the bicycle is additional food and fuel to cook that food. These are the kind of things, when you're talking about a long trip, you need to be preparing ahead of time. The distance is important, the amount of food is important, the amount of water. And now we're gonna talk about that most important topic, is danger. We're gonna talk about danger quick. Now, it's of my personal opinion that in the first 3 days of an event, you're going to boogie as fast as you can, as many miles as you possibly can to get away from a city center. I live in Las Vegas, it's hot. I would not prefer to ride the bicycle during the day, but I would do whatever I needed to do to get miles between myself and Vegas as quickly as possible. If you're still stuck in the city on day 2 and day 3, you're in for trouble. So push hard. Do not wait to get out of your city center. Next, I would always suggest traveling with the very minimum of your firearm, your pistol on your hip. The police are going to have their hands full. I don't think it's necessary that you hide everything. I wouldn't throw your helmet and your body armor on in the first couple of days, but have it close. If you look closely on the bicycle picture, stacked directly behind my seat is my helmet and my body armor with ammunition right there. I want to have those close in case something happens. Also, I plan on traveling at night. I'm going to utilize additional batteries and my NVG to try and travel between, let's say, 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. By 5 o'clock in the morning, as the sun starts to crest, I am hunkering down for the day. We'll find a nice cool spot in the shade and we will just lay up and rest all day long. Do not want to travel during the day. The NVGs will give me the advantage at night where we're traveling and somebody decides to set up a roadblock or something like that, and I may be able to spot that ahead of time, pull off the road before I'm noticed, and maybe we can skirt around that problem. All right, when it comes to threats, I believe it's important to have the ability. Now, this is optional, right? Having ballistic helmet and your body armor accessible is an advantage. However, there are some weight disadvantages. But I'm gonna try to utilize my helmet and the NVGs, which I keep right here in a Faraday bag, to move around incognito, right? So I want to maximize my stealth and I want to minimize my contact, mostly because I have my family there, right? I don't mind getting into confrontations. However, when traveling with your family, you want to minimize the threat and maximize your incognito as much as possible. So I'm going to use the helmet on the NVGs in the middle of the night. The body armor is there in case I cannot go around a particular threat. Now, the food and cook sets are all in here for the first couple of days. You're not even going to try and break into the trailers. You're just going to burn through whatever you can get to really quick. Move quickly, stay quiet, and get to your location as fast as possible. The time that you minimize on the road will maximize your survivability. In today's technology-based society, maps, good old maps, have fallen out of style. Remember, these could be invaluable if you need to leave and your cell phone, your GPSs no longer work. Having one for the states that are directly around you is a huge advantage. Now, this is not light. You might get to the point where you route out where you're going and you rip the particular pages out that you need, but it's very valuable to have these in case of an emergency. Look closely at your routes. You want to stay away from city centers. Stay as far away from large population centers as possible. It doesn't matter if you're going farther than a direct shot. If you bypass the large cities, it's a bonus. Take the extra time and be safe on your travels. All right, in conclusion, remember, these are just topics and thoughts. My situation varies completely to yours. I live in the desert. Right now, it's summer. I would be thinking completely different if it was winter. You have to take your situation and game that one. I'm wearing nice and thin, non-super tactical. I want tans and greens. I want to be able to blend in, but I also don't necessarily want to look super tactical. All of these things are up to you. Use them as a guide. Build your plan. Go slow. Put some thought into it. Then think about some of the things that can go wrong and how do you avoid that. Lastly, all of this is theoretical. We don't necessarily know that we'll ever need these skills or techniques, but I think it's better to be prepared, and it's better to think about these things before it happens, so that you and your family have the best opportunity for survival. Movement is life. There's no question about that. As long as you keep moving, you won't get trapped in a situation and you have a better chance of surviving. As always, stay safe out there.